to me, but I didn't figure I got any patriotism from it.
You just sort of got lucky, didn't you?
I so got lucky. Well, what I think happened when I got fed up with it and come home in 42, in 43 rather, they had rolled the age limit back from 35 to 29.
And you just stepped over the limit.
And I just stepped over the line in 30.
Well, let's see, after the war was over, Terry's born in 46, and after that it was pretty much a work-a-day kind of life. Worked on the farm day in, day out, from sunrise to sunset.
Yeah.
What do you remember most about those years, from the time after the war was over and Terry was born until y'all actually sold the farm? What were your fondest memories, especially as they might relate to Mom or
Well,
Terry?
it wasn't when that mule hit me in the head. That's not the fondest memory.
That wasn't your fondest memory, huh?
No.
He might be part of the problem you're having now.
Well, I'm wondering if that ain't. I'd come home from Detroit and they'd been working the mule, but it hadn't been ridden. And I decided I'd ride that thing, and I jumped upon her sweater and he threw that head back and hit me right there with a...
Oh, hit you with his head?
He with that top knot in his head, and just snapped my head back.
But the mule was never the same after that, was he?
No.
Well, and you either, probably. Like if we had Pappy here.
So I went on to Detroit, back to Detroit, and went to work, and half of my head went to sleep. Just going to sleep. And I went to the chiropractor, and they had x-rays made, and they said that skull had slipped back on the last vertebra.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And he doctored me for 3 or 4 weeks, and it
Got better.
everything went all right.
I remember Terry broke both of his arms one time. How did he do that?
On a slide over at school.
Had both his arms in a cast. And you had to dress him,
And dress him,
bathe
and
him, feed him, and everything.
yes, sir. He couldn't do one thing at a time. He had to do
Both at the same time. Mama Kay, she couldn't hardly wait to get out of the house, so she went and got married when she was 16.
Yeah. She fubbed a dub at 16.
Well, I don't know if I would say that or not. Seems how I'm a product of that fub. That was in 1954.
Well, as far as age is concerned, you did.
Well, yeah, that's a little young. I wouldn't care for my daughter to be getting married quite that young. And y'all sold the farm in what year?
Piece at a time.
But it was pretty close together though, wasn't it?
Well, it was in 65.
65, when the interstate came through out on 100. That was sort of like a blessing, wasn't it?
It was a blessing. There wasn't no pig in the poke.
If that interstate hadn't come through here, you might still be living on a farm. Probably would.
I probably would have. Probably would have.
Well, it's a.
But
I'm
the interstate, when they started measuring of surveying, they surveyed right down to the middle of our farm, house and all. But when they got over Bridge Creek, they found caves that are going to be a problem, so they moved it east, and they didn't get but about a quarter acre of our farm.
The way I heard it told was you were sitting out on the front porch of the farmhouse, and some guy drove up, looked down where your pond was, and said, "I'd like to buy some of that land." And you told him you can't afford it, and he said, "Make me a price." And you made him a price of some ridiculous amount, like $15,000 for an acre or something. He said,
$15,000.
wrote out a check for it. And then you said, when the light went on, "Something going on here." And you said,
that was J.B. Dobbs.
that come out and bought that land from you?
Well, they didn't buy the land, they bought it for somebody else.
Or somebody
The Phillips Company.
Is that when you recognized that something was going on and you need to figure out what was going on?
Yeah, that's when I recognized it. I better watch my step.
After y'all sold the farm,
And
y'all
J.B. Dobbs had told me since then, said that was the highest land he'd ever had anybody priced to him. And he thought it was ridiculous And I wouldn't even pay the commission.
They had to pay that too.
They had to get that too.
And they did, and
They did, and they
you
didn't.
knew that something was going on, didn't you?
Mm.
Y'all built your house in Highlands then, in town, in 1965, I guess.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, Pappy, y'all moved into Highlands, what, August of 1965?
August of '65.
And he died in December.
He died in December. Poor thing, didn't get to,
He didn't live there all that long,
10 minutes.
10 minutes to go.
didn't get to live there long.
Well, I do remember that
But
a
we
lot.
built the house especially for him.
His own suite, didn't he?
Had his own suite back there, all of his furniture and all of his bathroom and privacy, be by himself. That's how I come up to build that
House up in
that
Highlands.
house up in Holland. Other if it hadn't been for that, we wouldn't have built up there. Chances are we wouldn't, and I know we wouldn't build that big a house.
I'm sure you wouldn't have. Sure you wouldn't have. After y'all moved to town, you got involved in quite a few different businesses, didn't you? When did you have the restaurant?
We were in the restaurant in '64,
Oh, you got the restaurant before you even moved into town.
again before we moved down. The Hardings was operating there for about a month when we decided to buy it.
It was right next door too, where they had the grocery store. I
Right
know
next
that.
door to them. And we stayed in it through 65, 64, 65, 66.
Bob Taylor was your partner at one point.
Not in the, no.
Not in the restaurant.
No.
He was in the laundromat at one point.
Yeah.
When
He got interested in the laundromat in 65, or 66. He talked to me about it. And we went in partners and it started up in 1966 in August.
well, that has done well for you in this number of years. Hasn't it? We're
Yeah.
talking coming up close on 30 years having had that laundromat. About 4 years shy of 30 years.
26.
That's been around for quite some
Yeah,
time.
it's just 1966.
And it still makes a decent living for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it wasn't enough for two.
No.
And so I bought Bob Taylor out and
He decided it wasn't the kind of work that an attorney needed
it
to
did too
do.
much work for him.
He needed to go back to being an attorney.
So I
Didn't have to work so
bought
hard.
him out, give him $2,500 for his interest,
Uh-huh. When did y'all buy the house here? In
70,
in
69.
1970. I know exactly how that came about. We were living in Louisville at the time.
Right on.
Kelly was about, oh no, it was about 8 years old, something like that, 7. And we had moved to Louisville. We're having a hard time making ends meet. And we came back to Franklin in 1969. 'cause that
Yeah,
was-
had to stay home from school several days because didn't have no money to buy food with.
And we came back and moved in the house in the Highlands. And you all bought this house here and have
Yeah.
been here since 1969. Over 20 years now. 23 to be exact. So this house has been, you probably lived in this house just about as long as you lived out on the farm. Y'all were married in 36, stayed there until 65, 46, 56, 66. Y'all were there almost 30 years. Well, tell me what one thing you would tell to your kids, Terry and Kay, and to all your grandkids, which is me and Sherry and Kelly and Megan and Sarah, and then all the great grandkids, Jamie and Stephanie and Leslie and Stacy and Stephen.
Well, my sister never could figure out me being a father. But when my children come along, they are so precious to me, and all of my grandchildren the same way, and my great-grandchildren too, are just precious. And I love every one of you, just the same as you did Terry and Kay. And that's almost all I've got to say about that.
You got any words of advice for us about all the experiences that you've had in life, how we should lead our own lives, what we should value is important, what we should understand is only temporal?
Well, yes, I do. The greatest value in anybody's life is not temporal. It's spiritual. Because this body is made of clay. But the soul can, if they trust Jesus, live in the heaven beyond. And don't miss that under no circumstances.
We need to keep our eyes focused on the spiritual side of life.
That's right, on the spiritual side of life. And implant that in your children.
What would you say about family and how important family is?
Family is the greatest organization on this earth outside of church. And the closest of our family has always been very, very close, as far back as I can remember. And we've stuck together and had good time together and still are. And there's not many families can say that.
You hear the old saying, sticking together through thick and thin, and I've experienced that in this family. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I value this family as the greatest gift that God gave me that I can ever hope to have.
I do
Certainly
too,
thanks
Steve.
to them.
That's the way I feel about it.
Well, we appreciate you sitting here and talking with us and telling us all about how we all came to be. Thanks.
Thank you very
We love
much.
you.
We love you.